The Georgia sun beat down on Fort Stewart's training grounds as 22-year-old Maya Torres stepped off the bus. She was small, barely 5'3", with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her duffel bag looked almost too big for her frame as she slung it over her shoulder. "Look at that," muttered Corporal Jake Hendricks, a 6-foot wall of muscle who'd been stationed at Fort Stewart for 2 years. "They're letting high school girls join up now." His buddies laughed. Maya kept walking, her face neutral, eyes forward. She'd heard it all before. Every military base had guys like Jake. Men who judged you before you even opened your mouth. Men who saw your size and assumed you were weak. They didn't know her story. They didn't know about the man who raised her. Maya's father, Chief Petty Officer Samuel Torres, had been a Navy SEAL for 23 years. He'd served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and places he could never talk about. When Maya's mother died from cancer when Maya was just 8 years old, Samuel had raised her alone. But he didn't raise her to be helpless. Every morning before school, they ran 5 miles. Every evening she trained, hand-to-hand combat, weapons handling, survival skills. Her childhood friends had soccer practice and piano lessons. Maya had her father's garage converted into a training facility. "The world won't go easy on you because you're small," Samuel used to tell her. "So you be smarter, you be faster, you be tougher than anyone expects." Samuel had passed away just 6 months ago. Heart attack, sudden and cruel. At his funeral with honors at Arlington National Cemetery, Maya had made a promise at his grave. She would finish what he'd started. She would serve with honor just like him. Now here she was, reporting for her first assignment after basic training. Sergeant First Class Michelle Davis stood at the front of the briefing room that afternoon. She was a tough woman in her 40s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Listen up," Davis said. "We've got a new specialist joining our unit. Torres, stand up." Maya rose from her seat in the back row. The room erupted in whispers. Several soldiers snickered. "Seriously," Jake said, not quite under his breath. "That's our new specialist. She looks like she should be babysitting, not carrying a weapon." "Hendricks," Sergeant Davis snapped. "One more word and you'll be running laps until midnight. Clear." "Yes, Sergeant," Jake muttered. But the damage was done. Maya could feel every eye in the room sizing her up, doubting her. She sat back down, keeping her expression calm. After the briefing, Maya headed to the barracks to unpack. She'd been assigned a bunk in the squad bay with 3 other women, Private Emma Richardson, Specialist Lisa Chen, and Corporal Amy Patterson. Emma was friendly enough, a farm girl from Iowa with a ready smile. "Don't mind the guys," she said as Maya organized her footlocker. "They give everyone a hard time at first." "Some more than others," Lisa added. She was quiet, studious, with glasses perched on her nose. "Jake and his crew are the worst. They think this is some kind of boys' club." Amy, who'd been folding laundry on her bunk, looked over. "You ever been in the military before? You seem, I don't know, calm." Maya shook her head. "Just finished basic, but my father was career military, Navy SEAL." All 3 women stopped what they were doing. "Wait, for real?" Emma asked. "Your dad was a SEAL." Maya nodded, pulling out a framed photo from her bag. It showed her father in his dress uniform, medals across his chest, arm around a teenage Maya. Both were smiling. "Chief Petty Officer Samuel Torres," she said quietly. "He died 6 months ago." "I'm so sorry," Lisa said softly. Maya set the photo on her footlocker. "He taught me everything, how to push through pain, how to outthink an opponent, how to never ever quit." Amy smiled. "Something tells me Jake and his buddies are in for a surprise." "Maybe," Maya said. "Or maybe I just do my job and prove myself through actions, not words." But even as she said it, Maya knew the truth. Men like Jake didn't learn through quiet competence. Sometimes you had to show them. Sometimes you had to make them see what they'd been too blind to notice. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Respect isn't given, Maya, it's earned, and sometimes you have to take it. The next morning came fast and cold. At 0500 hours, the platoon assembled for PT physical training. Maya stood in formation, surrounded by soldiers who towered over her. Jake positioned himself right behind her. "Try to keep up, kid," he whispered. "We wouldn't want you to get hurt on your first day." Sergeant Davis led them on a 6-mile run through the base. Maya stayed in the middle of the pack, controlling her breathing, maintaining her pace. She could have run faster. Her father had trained her to run 10 miles without stopping, but she knew better than to show off on day one. Jake and his friends finished first, as expected. They stood at the finish line, barely winded, watching the others come in. Maya crossed the line in the top third of the group. Not bad, but not remarkable. "See," Jake said to his buddy, Specialist Derek Mills. "She's average at best. I give her 2 weeks before she requests a transfer." What they didn't see was Maya heading to the obstacle course after breakfast, when most soldiers were resting. What they didn't see was her completing the course 3 times, working on technique, finding the fastest routes. The real test came 3 days later. Sergeant Davis had organized a combat training exercise, full gear, simulated weapons, tactical scenarios in the woods behind the base. The platoon was divided into 2 teams. Maya ended up on the opposite team from Jake. "This should be interesting," Jake said during the briefing. "Wonder if the new girl even knows which end of the rifle to point." Several soldiers laughed. Sergeant Davis shot them a warning look but said nothing. The exercise began at dawn. Maya's team was tasked with defending a position, while Jake's team attacked. The weapons were paintball guns modified to look and feel like real rifles. Maya's team leader, Staff Sergeant Robert Green, was a fair man in his 30s. "Tors, you take the east perimeter," he instructed. "It's the weakest approach. Probably won't see much action." In other words, the spot where they'd put someone they didn't trust in a real fight. Maya took her position behind a fallen log, scanning the tree line. She could hear her father's voice in her head. "In combat, assume nothing. Prepare for everything." 20 minutes into the exercise, she spotted movement. 3 figures, moving through the brush about 60 yards out. They were using the terrain well, staying low, advancing in bounds. One of them was Jake. They thought they were being clever, flanking around to the weak side, where only the new girl was posted. Maya waited. Patience was a weapon her father had taught her. "Let them think they've won," he used to say, "then take it away." Jake's team got within 30 yards. Maya could hear them whispering, coordinating their final approach. Then she moved. In 3 seconds, she dropped all 3 of them with perfect headshots. Jake took a paintball right to his chest plate. Derek got one to the shoulder. The third man, Private Collins, didn't even see where the shot came from. Jake spun around, paint splattered across his uniform. "Where did that come from?" "You're out, Hendricks," called the referee, Lieutenant Marcus Washington, who'd been observing. "Tors got all 3 of you. Nice shooting, Specialist." Jake's face turned red. "She got lucky." "Luck?" Lieutenant Washington raised an eyebrow. "She waited until you were in the kill zone, picked her targets, and eliminated the threat in under 5 seconds. That's not luck, Corporal. That's skill." Word spread fast. By lunchtime, everyone in the unit had heard about the new girl who'd taken down Jake Hendricks and his team single-handedly. But instead of earning respect, Maya had made an enemy. That evening, Maya returned to her bunk to find her footlocker open. Items were scattered across the floor. Her father's photo was face down on the ground, the frame cracked. Emma gasped when she saw it. "Oh no, Maya, I'm so sorry. We were all at dinner. I don't know who." "I know who," Maya said quietly, picking up the photo. The glass was shattered, but the picture was undamaged. She carefully removed it from the broken frame. Lisa stood up, angry. "This is too far. We need to report this." "No," Maya said. No, Amy looked at her in disbelief. Maya, this is vandalism, it's harassment. Maya's eyes were hard as steel. Reporting it won't change anything. It'll just make me look weak, like I can't handle things myself. But you shouldn't have to handle this alone, Emma protested. Maya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. My father taught me something important. Some people only understand one language, and it's not words. Over the next week, things escalated. Jake and his friends made sure Maya got the worst assignments, extra guard duty, the dirtiest equipment to clean, the heaviest loads to carry during training. They whispered insults when sergeants weren't listening. They excluded her from informal team activities. Maya endured it all without complaint. She was polite, professional, and quiet. She did every task assigned to her, no matter how unfair. But she was also watching, learning, waiting. Her father's training had taught her something most soldiers never learned. Sometimes the best offense is patience. Study your enemy, learn their weaknesses, then strike when they least expect it. 2 weeks after Maya arrived at Fort Stewart, Sergeant Davis called a special formation. The entire unit assembled in the briefing room, speculation running through the ranks. Listen up, Davis began. We've been selected for a joint training exercise with the Rangers from 3rd Battalion. It's a week-long event, survival skills, navigation, combat scenarios. The top-performing squad gets recognition and 3-day passes. Excited murmurs filled the room. 3-day passes were gold. I'm dividing you into squads of 6, Davis continued. Each squad will have a leader. Squad leaders, you're responsible for your team's success or failure. She read out the assignments. Maya found herself on Squad 3, led by, of all people, Corporal Jake Hendricks. Jake caught her eye across the room and smirked. This was his chance to make her look bad in front of everyone. The other squad members were Derek Mills, Private Collins, Emma Richardson, and Specialist Tony Ramirez, a quiet guy from Texas who kept to himself. That night, Jake called a squad meeting. Everyone gathered around a table in the common area except Maya, who arrived last. Okay, listen up, Jake said. This training exercise is important. I expect everyone to pull their weight. He looked directly at Maya. And I mean everyone, no weak links. We won't be a weak link if we work as a team, Maya said calmly. Jake leaned forward. Here's how this works, Tors. You follow orders, my orders. You do exactly what I say when I say it. You don't question, you don't improvise, clear. Clear, Maya replied. But Emma spoke up. Jake, come on, Maya's proven herself. She's a good shot, she. I didn't ask for your opinion, Richardson, Jake snapped. I'm squad leader. What I say goes. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. The training exercise began on Monday. All 6 squads were transported to a remote area of Fort Stewart, dense woods, rough terrain, minimal supplies. The first task was navigation. Find 3 checkpoints using only a map and compass, then establish a base camp. Jake deliberately gave Maya the heaviest pack, over 60 pounds of gear. Think you can handle that, kid? He asked with a grin. Maya shouldered the pack without a word. It was heavy, but she'd carried worse during her father's training. The squad set off into the woods. Jake took point, with Derek and Collins behind him. Emma and Tony were in the middle. Maya brought up the rear as always. After 2 hours of hiking, they were lost. This doesn't look right, Emma said, checking the map. Jake, I think we missed the turn about a mile back. We didn't miss anything, Jake insisted. I know exactly where we are. But 20 minutes later, they were even deeper into unfamiliar territory. The sun was getting lower in the sky. Tony spoke up. Jake, man, I think Emma's right. We should backtrack. Nobody asked you, Ramirez, Jake snapped. Maya had been silent until now, but she'd been watching their route carefully. We're 2 miles off course, she said quietly. If we head northeast for about 40 minutes, we'll hit the creek. Follow that downstream and we'll find checkpoint 2. Jake spun around. "Did I ask for your opinion?" "No," Maya said, "but I'm giving it anyway, because if we keep going this direction, we'll miss all 3 checkpoints before dark, and then the whole squad fails." "She's right," Emma said, looking at the map. "The creek would get us back on track." Jake's jaw clenched. He hated being wrong, especially in front of his squad. "Fine," he bit out. "Northeast, but if this doesn't work tours, you're carrying double weight tomorrow." Maya's navigation was perfect. 45 minutes later, they reached the creek. By following it downstream, they found checkpoint 2, then 1, then 3. They were the second squad to complete the navigation course. Jake took all the credit during the debrief with Sergeant Davis. That night, as the squad set up camp, Derek pulled Maya aside. "Hey," he said quietly, "that was good work today, the navigation thing." "Just doing my job," Maya replied. Derek looked uncomfortable. "Look, I know Jake's been rough on you. He's not a bad guy, really. He just doesn't like being shown up," Maya finished, "especially by someone he thinks is beneath him." Derek didn't deny it. "He'll come around, give it time." But Maya knew better. Men like Jake didn't come around, they doubled down. Sure enough, the next day brought a combat scenario, squad versus squad in a capture-the-flag exercise. Jake deliberately positioned Maya in the worst possible location, guarding their flag alone while the rest of the squad went on offense. "If they get past you," Jake said, "we lose. Think you can handle that responsibility?" It was a setup. If the flag got captured, Maya would take all the blame. The enemy squad, led by Staff Sergeant Green, was smart and experienced. They sent a small diversionary force to the front while their main team flanked around to where Maya was positioned. Maya saw them coming, 4 soldiers moving fast through the trees. She keyed her radio. "Contact rear. 4 hostiles approaching the flag. I'm engaged." "Hold them off," Jake's voice crackled back. "We're 2 minutes out." 2 minutes might as well have been 2 hours. The first soldier burst through the tree line. Maya dropped him with a paintball to the chest. The second came from the left. She got him too, but the third and fourth split up, trying to flank her position. Maya moved, not away from the flag but toward the threat, her father's voice, "Offense is the best defense." She caught the third soldier by surprise, coming at him from an angle he didn't expect. One shot, clean hit. The fourth soldier, a big guy, easily twice her size, saw his teammates go down and charged straight at her. Bad mistake. Maya sidestepped, used his momentum against him, and put 2 paintballs in his back as he stumbled past. 4 soldiers down in less than 90 seconds. When Jake and the rest of the squad arrived, breathing hard, the enemy squad was already eliminated. Lieutenant Washington, who'd been observing, actually laughed. "Outstanding work, Specialist Tours. 4-on-1 and you didn't give up an inch." Jake's expression was stone. He didn't say a word to Maya for the rest of the day. That night, Maya overheard him talking to Derek near the campfire. "She's making me look bad," Jake hissed. "Or maybe you're making yourself look bad," Derek replied. "Man, just admit it, she's good, really good. Why can't you just accept that?" "Because she doesn't belong here," Jake said. "This isn't about her being good, it's about respect, order. She needs to know her place." Maya walked away before she heard more. She didn't need to hear the rest. The 5th day of the training exercise brought the most difficult challenge yet, a 48-hour survival course. Each squad would be dropped in separate locations with minimal gear, no tents, limited food, basic supplies. They had to survive, navigate to a final checkpoint, and arrive by dawn on the 7th day. The squad that arrived first, with all members intact, would win. Sergeant Davis issued final instructions. "You'll have 1 MRE per person, a single water purification kit, a basic first aid kit, and 1 emergency flare. That's it. Everything else you figure out." Jake gathered Squad 3 for a pre-mission brief. His plan was simple: move fast, sleep little, and get to the checkpoint before everyone else. "We rotate carrying the gear," he said. 30-minute shifts, tours, you're exempt." Maya looked up surprised. "Exempt?" "Yeah," Jake said with a cold smile. "You'll scout ahead instead. You're small, quiet. You can move through the brush and warn us about obstacles." It sounded reasonable except for one thing. Scouting ahead meant Maya would be separated from the group, sometimes by hundreds of yards. If something went wrong, she'd be alone. Emma caught on immediately. "Jake, that's not safe. We should stay together." "I'm squad leader," Jake said. "My decision stands." The squad was dropped in a dense section of forest just after dawn. Jake immediately sent Maya ahead to scout the route, while the rest of the group followed at a slower pace. Maya moved through the woods like a shadow. Her father had taught her how to read terrain, how to move silently, how to spot danger before it spotted you. She marked the path with subtle signs: broken twigs arranged in arrows, rocks stacked in specific patterns. By nightfall, the squad had covered impressive ground. They set up a cold camp, no fire, to avoid giving away their position to other squads. Maya volunteered for first watch. She sat on a fallen log at the edge of camp, listening to the night sounds of the forest. Around midnight, Tony came to relieve her. "Get some sleep," he said quietly. "You've been going non-stop since we dropped." Maya was heading to her sleeping spot when she overheard Jake and Derek talking in low voices. "Tomorrow's when we make our move," Jake was saying. "The terrain gets rough, lots of ravines, steep climbs. If Tors happens to have an accident—" Maya froze. "An accident?" Derek sounded alarmed. "Jake, what are you talking about?" "Not a real accident," Jake said quickly. "Just something that slows her down. Maybe she twists an ankle, can't keep up. We'd have to leave her behind with the emergency flare. She'd be safe but out of the exercise, and without her making us look bad every 5 seconds. "Man, that's messed up," Derek said. "I know you don't like her, but that's going too far." "It's not about liking or not liking," Jake insisted. "It's about teaching her a lesson. She needs to understand that showing off has consequences." Maya's hands clenched into fists. So that was his plan. Sabotage her, leave her behind, and claim it was her own fault for not being able to keep up. She returned to her sleeping spot, but she didn't sleep. She thought about her father, about all those years of training, all those lessons about honor and integrity. Samuel Tors had served with men who would die for each other. Men who understood that in the military, you were only as strong as your weakest link, and your job was to make sure there were no weak links, not by cutting people loose, but by lifting them up. Jake understood none of that. The next morning, the terrain got brutal just as Jake had predicted. Steep hills, rocky ravines, thick underbrush. The squad moved slowly, carefully. Maya was scouting ahead when she found it, a ravine with a fallen log serving as a natural bridge across. It was the fastest route to the checkpoint, saving at least 3 hours of hiking time. She radioed back. "Found a shortcut. Fallen log across a ravine, should be stable." Jake's voice crackled back. "Check it out and make sure it's safe." Maya approached the log carefully. It was thick, at least 2 feet in diameter, and seemed solid. She tested it with her weight, then walked across slowly. The log held firm. "It's good," she radioed. "Stable crossing." "Copy that," Jake replied. "Wait there, we're 10 minutes out." Maya waited on the far side of the ravine. Below her, the drop was about 30 feet to a rocky creek bed. Not fatal, but definitely dangerous. When the squad arrived, Jake studied the log bridge. "You sure it's stable?" he asked Maya. "I crossed it myself," Maya replied. "It's solid." Jake stepped onto the log first. He made it halfway across, then stopped. "Tors, come back across. I want you to test this from the other end." It was an unnecessary order, but Maya complied. She stepped onto the log from her side. And Jake suddenly shifted his weight. deliberately making the log roll slightly. Maya's footing slipped. For a heart-stopping moment, she teetered on the edge, arms windmilling. "Maya!" Emma screamed. Maya's training kicked in. Instead of fighting the fall, she went with it, twisting her body to grab the log as she went down. Her hands caught the rough bark and she hung there, suspended 30 feet above the rocks. "Oh my God," Tony yelled. "Jake, help her." But Jake just stood there on the log, looking down at her. For 3 long seconds, he didn't move. It was Derek who scrambled across, lying flat on the log and extending his arm down. "Grab on." Maya pulled herself up with Derek's help, her arms shaking from the effort. When she got back on solid ground, she was breathing hard, but her eyes were locked on Jake. "What happened?" Sergeant Davis's voice suddenly crackled over all their radios. "I just got an emergency alert. Who activated it?" Emma was holding the emergency flare, her hand shaking. "I did, Sergeant. We had a near casualty. Torres almost fell into a ravine." "Is she injured?" Davis demanded. "No, Sergeant," Maya said into her radio, her voice steady despite everything. "I'm fine. It was a slip, that's all." "All squads return to base," Davis ordered. "Exercise is terminated. I want a full debrief in 2 hours." As the squad began the hike back, Maya walked alone at the rear. Her mind was racing, but her expression was calm. Jake had just crossed a line. He hadn't just tried to embarrass her or slow her down. He'd put her life in danger. The debrief took place in Sergeant Davis's office. Jake went in first, alone. He was in there for 20 minutes. When he came out, his face was unreadable. Derek went next, then Emma, then Tony, then Collins. Each session lasted about 10 minutes. Finally, Maya was called in. Sergeant Davis sat behind her desk, her expression neutral. Lieutenant Washington was there too, standing against the wall with his arms crossed. "Sit down, Specialist Torres," Davis said. Maya sat, her back straight, hands folded in her lap. "Tell me what happened at the ravine," Davis said. "In your own words, don't leave anything out." Maya recounted the events exactly as they occurred. The log bridge, Jake's order for her to test it from the other side, the sudden shift that made her lose footing, the fall, Derek's rescue. "Did Corporal Hendricks deliberately cause you to slip?" Washington asked directly. Maya met his eyes. "I can't say for certain what was in his mind, sir. I can only tell you what happened." Davis leaned forward. "Torres, this is important. If you believe Hendricks intentionally endangered you, you need to say so. That's a serious charge, but if it's true, it needs to be addressed." For a long moment, Maya was silent. She thought about her father, about integrity, about doing the right thing even when it was hard. "Permission to speak freely, Sergeant?" Maya asked. "Granted." "Corporal Hendricks has made it clear from day one that he doesn't think I belong in this unit," Maya said. "He's given me the worst assignments, the heaviest loads, the most dangerous positions. He vandalized my personal belongings. And yes, I believe he deliberately caused me to slip today." "Did you report any of this before now?" Washington asked. "No, sir. I wanted to handle it myself. I wanted to prove I belonged here through my actions, not by complaining." Davis sighed. "Torres, I respect that attitude. But there's a difference between being tough and being foolish. If a soldier is being hazed or endangered, it's your duty to report it." "I understand that now, Sergeant," Maya said quietly. "The other squad members corroborated your version of events," Davis continued. "Emma Richardson and Tony Ramirez both stated they believe Hendricks' actions were deliberate. Derek Mills said he wasn't sure. Collins backed up Hendricks." "What happens now?" Maya asked. Washington spoke up. "That depends on what you want to happen, Specialist. You have grounds for formal charges against Hendricks. Hazing, endangerment, vandalism. We have witnesses. We have a pattern of behavior. If you want to press charges, we'll support you." Maya thought about it. Formal charges meant an investigation, A court-martial possibly, Jake's career ruined. Part of her wanted that. Part of her wanted to see him face real consequences. But another part, the part that sounded like her father's voice, knew there was a better way. "I don't want to press charges," Maya said. Both Davis and Washington looked surprised. "You don't?" Davis asked. "No, Sergeant. I want something else." Maya leaned forward. "I want a chance to prove myself in front of the entire unit. No more small squads, no more being separated. I want a fair test where everyone can see what I'm capable of." Washington raised an eyebrow. "What kind of test?" "The combat qualification course," Maya said. "The advanced one with the obstacle elements. I want to run it head-to-head against Corporal Hendricks. Same course, same standards. Winner takes bragging rights." Davis actually smiled. "That's a bold request, Tors." "I learned from a bold man, Sergeant," Maya replied. "If you lose," Washington pointed out, "it proves Hendricks right. It validates everything he said about you." "And if I win," Maya said, "everyone sees the truth." Davis exchanged a look with Washington. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "I'll allow it," Davis said finally. "But understand this, Tors. If Hendricks refuses to participate, I'm still going to discipline him for his behavior during the exercise. This isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card for him." "Understood, Sergeant," Maya said. Dismissed. 3 days later, the entire unit assembled at the combat qualification course. Word had spread fast about the challenge, and soldiers from other companies had shown up to watch. The course was brutal: 2 miles of running with full gear, followed by obstacle elements, followed by marksmanship tests with rifle and pistol. It was designed to break soldiers down, to find their limits. Jake stood at the starting line looking confident. He'd run this course a dozen times. His best time was 48 minutes. Maya stood beside him, smaller, quieter, but with eyes like steel. Sergeant Davis stood between them. "This is a standard combat qualification run. No modifications, no special treatment. You both run the same course under the same conditions. First one across the finish line with qualifying scores on all elements wins. Clear?" "Clear," Jake and Maya said in unison. "On my mark," Davis said. She raised her hand. 3, 2, 1, go." They took off running. Jake immediately pulled ahead. He was faster, his legs longer, his stride more powerful. By the quarter-mile mark, he had a 30-second lead. Maya didn't panic. She kept her breathing steady, her pace controlled. This wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon. The first obstacle was a wall climb, 12 feet of vertical wood. Jake scaled it easily, dropped down the other side, and kept running. Maya hit the wall at full speed, used her momentum to grab the top edge, and pulled herself up in one smooth motion. She'd done this 1,000 times in her father's backyard on the wall he'd built for her. The gap closed to 20 seconds. Next came the rope crawl under barbed wire. You had to stay low, move fast, and not get tangled. Jake went through it with brute force, muscling his way forward. Maya went through it like water, smooth and efficient, wasting no energy. The gap closed to 10 seconds. By the time they reached the marksmanship phase, they were almost even. Both soldiers had to hit targets at various distances: 50 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards, with both rifle and pistol. Jake's hands were shaking from exertion. His first shot missed, his second hit low. Maya's breathing was controlled. She could hear her father's voice: "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." She squeezed the trigger. Center mass, again, center mass, again, center mass. Perfect score. Jake finished his shooting with 2 misses. Not terrible, but not perfect. The final element was a sprint to the finish line, half a mile of flat ground. They ran side by side, neither willing to give an inch. Jake gritted his teeth, pouring everything he had into his legs. Maya matched him stride for stride. With 50 yards to go, Jake started to pull ahead. His longer legs were finally giving him the advantage. But Maya didn't quit. She dug deeper than she'd ever dug before. She thought about her father, about his sacrifice, about every morning they'd run together, every night they'd trained. Never quit, Samuel's voice echoed in her mind. Not when it hurts, not when you're tired, not when everyone doubts you. Never quit. 20 yards from the finish line, Maya pulled even with Jake. 10 yards out, she pulled ahead. She crossed the line 3 seconds before he did. The crowd erupted. Soldiers from multiple units were cheering, clapping, whistling. Maya bent over, hands on her knees, breathing hard. Jake crossed the line and immediately collapsed to the ground, completely spent. Sergeant Davis walked over, stopwatch in hand. Tours 44 minutes qualifying score on all elements. Hendricks 45 minutes, 2 points below qualifying score on marksmanship. She looked down at Jake. Tours wins. The crowd cheered again. Jake sat on the ground, staring at nothing. His pride, his certainty, his entire worldview had just been shattered by someone he dismissed as weak. Maya walked over and extended her hand. Good run, Corporal. For a moment, Jake just looked at her hand. Then slowly he took it. She pulled him to his feet. How? He asked quietly. You're half my size. How did you beat me? My father taught me something, Maya said. It's not about how big you are. It's about how big your heart is. How much you're willing to sacrifice. How hard you're willing to work when no one's watching. Jake nodded slowly. Your father, he was a SEAL. 23 years, Maya said. He was the toughest man I ever knew, and he taught me everything. For the first time, Jake looked at her with something other than contempt. It wasn't quite respect yet, but it was a start. I owe you an apology, he said, for everything. The way I treated you, the things I said, what happened at the ravine. I was wrong about all of it. Apology accepted, Maya said. But if you ever pull something like that ravine stunt again, with me or anyone else, I will press charges, and I will make sure you never wear that uniform again. Understood? Understood, Jake said. That evening, the entire unit gathered for an informal celebration. Someone had smuggled in pizza. Someone else had a portable speaker playing music. Maya sat with Emma, Lisa, and Amy, finally feeling like she belonged. Sergeant Davis approached with Lieutenant Washington. Tours, can we talk to you for a minute? Maya stood and followed them outside. I got a call from battalion today, Davis said. Word of your performance has reached some higher-ups. They're impressed. Thank you, Sergeant, Maya said. There's a special operations training program starting next month, Washington continued. Ranger school equivalent but co-ed. They're looking for exceptional soldiers to recommend. Your name came up. Maya's heart skipped a beat. Special operations. It was what her father had always dreamed she might achieve. What do you say, Tours? Davis asked. Think you're ready for the next level? Maya thought about her father's grave at Arlington. She thought about the promise she'd made to him. She thought about the last thing he'd ever said to her. Make me proud, Maya. Show them what you're made of.